The Pistons are the basketball champions of the world.
Detroit, it's time. It's playoff time, Detroit. Let's go to work.
Shout out Detroit. I got to buff up, you know what I'm saying? Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Buffs On Podcast. We are the best POD in the 313. We're coming off of a Pistons win in MSG. The Pistons have tied the series at 1, heading back to Detroit on Thursday. We are recording this on a Tuesday afternoon. I think we all wanted to record last night, but we had the genius idea to hold off because we didn't want the emotions running too high. Mine are still running pretty high, but I'm going to try to keep them in check and think objectively here. We're going to talk about the couple of games. No real course of action, no plan really. We're just going to hop on here and talk Pistons basketball, things that we've noticed, things that we thought would be good to keep an eye on throughout the series that we've seen so far. So let's just start talking Pistons basketball. Valley, you're first on my screen here. What is your biggest takeaway from these first two games?
My biggest takeaway, other than my Pistons in 5 predictions still being very much on track, is that the Detroit Pistons have the best player in this playoff series. They have the best player on the court. I think that could not be more true. You look at Cade Cunningham, he's the best player on the court. He's the reasons the Pistons are at 1-0 and are tied 1-1 and almost could be up 2-0. When you look at Game 2's victory, Cade Cunningham from the get-go, getting his buckets in such a wide variety of ways, and I love the fact that he's getting to do it in New York City and have this big breakout. I feel like every time I'm finding myself on any form of social media again, it's positive recognition for Cade Cunningham, who had 33 points. How about 12 rebounds along with his 33 points last night? I thought he was monstrous on both ends of the court. I think some of those rebounds as well were a few loose 50-50s. I thought the Pistons overall um, wanted to win this basketball game more. I think they want to win this series more. Just looking at it based off the eye test, and that's why Cade had 12 boards, Tobias Harris 13, Jalen Duren had 13. But Cade Cunningham 33 points, 12 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, coming off the pretty decent game 1 where he went 21, 6, and 12. Yeah, there were some turnover issues, but for me in game 2, it looked like Cade figured out, and we made adjustments to the blitzing he was receiving, that immediate double off the screen. There was plan of action to mitigate the consequences of that, and therefore Cade was able to get to his spots more, and therefore he dropped 33 points. When it comes to being the best player in the series, I think that's no debate because he's doing it on both ends, which Brunson is not. Brunson's getting hit. And obviously a few other things that I don't want to get down a rabbit hole with. Brunson played basketball. My biggest takeaway, since I don't know how fast you want to go here, guys, or not, is that the Pistons have the best player in the series, and that puts them in a great position to ultimately go on and win it.
Before we go on to how if Cade is or is not the best player in this series, because I'm sure Connie and Gabe are going to want to jump in on that one. Well, I want to talk about something you noted the adjustments we made from game 1 to game 2. Is there anything specifically that you've noticed Pistons did?
Absolutely. On top of the fact that Dennis should have played the entirety of the fourth, and I think his stretch started in the third as well. I think he played the final 15 minutes or so of that game. I could be wrong in that, but having the option to have him off ball, which we've seen ever since we acquired Dennis Schroeder, especially in the fourth quarter, is getting Cade, kind of resting him and saving some energy, getting him in a spot, and then finding him the ball. But there was one play in particular I really loved in that first half where, and again, this is action we've run during the regular season where Cade throws up a pass up on the wing, and when he throws his pass from his own half, so he's thrown it up to the 3-point wing. That player who's catching it has his back to the basket, but his only mission is to hand the ball back to Cade Cunningham so he can get it going downhill. The one time he ran that play, it worked to absolute perfection. Cade got downhill and right to the hoop, and I think that's been overall the plan more in this. When I look at game 1 and game 2, I see game 1 a lot of Cade does the creation off the screen, whereas this time we're already getting Cade going in a downhill position, and the defense struggles to adjust because he's simply, and I think he's shown he's way too quick for OG Anunoby, and it's just too easy when Mikal Bridges is on him, quite frankly. So getting him in those areas where he's heading downhill before the defense can prepare to throw a double or even a triple team at him. I think he was guilty of being a little bit slow and turning into a few triple teams, but getting him downhill to make the defense be the ones to adjust rather than coming off that screen and immediately facing a number of bodies on the handoff on the screen.
Something I feel like I noticed is he's being a lot more decisive in game two and just going faster, not always giving them time to trap him when he does come off of the screen. But before we go down that rabbit hole, I want to send it over to Connie because when Valley mentioned that Cade Cunningham is the best players in this series, Connie, you had a reaction to that. What are you thinking?
Don't even tell me I'm gonna have to leave this podcast right now, Connie.
No, Cade's the best player as far as being the best player, but Brunson can find himself to be equally as effective through some of the most heinous and god-awful flopping that the world has absolutely ever seen. I thought that the NBA got rid of that rule where if the guy lands 2 feet short of the three-point shooter and the offensive player dives into them to shoot a shot that would never be a normal shot, and if they shot a normal shot, there would be no contact, that there would be no foul there. I was under the impression a couple years ago they looked into it and they're like, this is not good product. This is bad for the game. We're gonna get rid of it. And they brought it back, I guess. Flopping, I feel, is at an all-time high. For some star players, it's not just Brunson, man. I was watching the Clippers game last night, and Jokic was doing some. I love Jokic, but he was doing some terrible things, uh,
Yeah.
on the flopping, like really selling some contact. But I just think through that, Brunson can have an impact that is possibly above Cade's at some points. Like when they got back into it last night, the Knicks, a lot of that was just taking away the Pistons' ability to play fast. When the Pistons this was a rock fight of a game. Um, but the Pistons worked like hell. They scrambled really well on defense. They cleaned up the rebounds. And through that, were allowed to play on the break a lot of the time. And Cade is an outstanding player on the break. He's one of the best players in the NBA. But when Brunson gets in there and he is flopping and drawing the foul, and the possession is ending with free throws every time, it is so much harder for the Pistons to set up their offense. Because in the half court, the Knicks are a lot better at containing because they can throw those doubles at Cade and they can limit a lot of stuff. But when the Pistons are able to get out on the break from playing defense and playing hard, that's when like the Cade really shines. So they kind of shine in opposite scenarios. That's why it's tough to say who is more impactful in this series. Better? Cade's better. Cade better.
I love it. I love
Um,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, they also have another All NBA player who didn't take a shot in the fourth
Did they?
quarter. Um,
Who? Can
Karl
you tell in
Anthony
that second
Towns,
half, man?
who arguably is the best player in the series. It's just when you have Brunson pounding the ball for 20 seconds in the shot clock, he can't really involve anyone else. I thought the biggest adjustment we made, aside from cleaning up the defensive glass, was showing two people at Towns when he was in the post. He wasn't allowed to just go to work against.
Also, I feel Duran was on him much less. Duran was on Hart more this game.
He was on Hart last game too. I thought
Mhm.
Okay. I
Yeah,
thought
I
he
think
had
it was the
more.
game one and game two thing. Yeah, we mostly had Tobias on Cat.
but there's a lot more help. There's earlier help. I was kept asking for a star to help for Duran up, and they did, which was great. And Towns was just invisible that game. I think only
No points in the
partially.
second half.
Yeah, I think that was only partially due to us. It was more due to their poor offense.
Mm-hmm.
But we did make everything hard. Like Brunson played to try to get fouls. He didn't try to score, which is I think that's a good outcome. I saw the internet was especially outraged, as well as as that call on Asar Thompson that they went back and reviewed after he was pleading for them to review it, from where he had his arms that kind of like stuck outside, and Brunson just grabbed him and then stuck his arm under his chin, and then somehow
Yeah.
that call was upheld.
I thought the blocking foul was worse, honestly, where he just runs into
They were
Asar.
both they were
Asar's
both
backing up
atrocious.
They were
away
both
from him,
bad.
and he just falls down like insane.
But okay, so going away from the foul calls, other than Cade got a whistle, like it wasn't a good whistle, it was a normal whistle, ones that were
He got
called.
some nice calls.
Yeah, it was nice. Like it
Mhm.
was, he's a great player. He attacks all the time. You get to the line, right? I thought it was a dominant win. If we didn't do our stupid mistakes, we would have won that game by like 10, 15 points.
Or
I think it was,
if
yeah,
either of our 3-point shooters remembered that they're 3-point shooters, man.
exactly.
Pistons
We had
shot
what,
6 for
6 threes that
27.
game? Yeah,
6
six
for
threes, and we win
27.
a game.
Yeah,
Malik and Tim Hardaway were 1 for 14.
that's
Like,
good.
shouldn't have won this one. Just won this one purely off of
It was still dominant, even without a
trying
three.
harder. Yeah, just
It
out.
was still a dominant win, except
And
like we missed some bunnies. We had still had some unforced turnovers. Like if those things are cleaned up, we win this game easily. There's no like almost comeback that they have. I thought Paul Reed was huge. He had two great defensive plays and then immediately threw the ball away again, going down the court, which was hilarious. But he played really well. Val, you mentioned it. I think we outplayed them 7 out of the 8 quarters that we've been in this series, and that was in MSG. So I have high hopes for the guys who aren't K to step up their game in LCA. But I think maybe the best player on the court last game was Dennis the Menace, man. This guy's shots yesterday were insane. Every three he took was like, I was like, oh, what a shot. And then he just banged it home, and I just couldn't be happier. You guys see anything else from him that just like he like does he
He
start at some point
he
in the
he
series or
he
does he just keep closing?
keep
he
closing.
saw.
Closing.
I think he keeps closing, but he saw like the calls that Brunson was getting, and he was pulling off some of the most heinous flops I have ever seen in my life, just
He's
launching
smart.
himself to the ground.
The
He
one was
wasn't getting
so
the
funny where
call.
he got pushed and he
When
just
he got
takes
pushed,
off.
He just
ooh, like he
jumped.
got shot out of a cannon. It was hilarious.
And then Brunson's always doing the hook, so Schroeder tried the hook too.
And he got
Schroeder
called
got
for it
called for it.
immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah, wild stuff.
seems fair.
Another guy I really love the Pistons. I think the Pistons defense kind of sneaks up because I feel like it's not anything where like other than a SAR where guys shut the water off on people, but it is just the consistent scrambling, and contesting and helping and getting around that like Malik Bridges, Mikhail Bridges, for Mr. Four first rounders in a swap, just absolutely invisible down the stretch, 3 for 11 from three, just making things tough for guys. Ojan and Nobi, the magic wore off a little bit.
I mean, he had some
Uh,
open looks, to be honest, Mikhail. He
Mhm.
just didn't knock him down because he wasn't in rhythm because of
One
Brunson.
would have tied the game too.
Yeah.
yeah, I just
OG,
yeah.
though, I think we really locked up OG.
Yeah, this like the defense is incredible, and this was an absolute rock fight. I mean, they scored 30 less points this game than they did last game. Uh,
And we held an offense with Brunson, as we mentioned, Cat, two all stars, starters. Then you throw Bridges and Anobi and Hart in there, and we held them under 100 points.
couple other things. I mean, Jalen Duren, not like
Monstrous.
Gotta talk about it. 3 blocks, very clutch.
was able to stay
And
on the court.
I think that's almost the biggest thing is his ability to stay on the court because obviously with no Isaiah Stewart, you lose your defensive anchor, and I think almost every Pistons fan was saying, "Uh oh, we have to play Paul Reed now." And for a moment that looked like, oh, that actually that might be true with the mistakes he was making, but like you said, Gabe, Paul Reed turned out to actually play a really solid game off the bench. Had some huge fourth minutes. I thought he was really just did his job in what he was doing. But you talk about Jalen Duren, how he was able to play such big minutes and only have those 5 fouls at the end of the day. I think that was pivotal to our team, pivotal to us winning this game. And also when you come like look at outworking them, we out rebounded the Knicks 48-34. That's a 14 rebound differential. You don't get that without Jalen Duren. I thought he had some monstrous rebounds. I mean, how many times have you seen this team play good defense but not complete a stop because they can't contain the rebound, you know? And I thought we just did an excellent job. Obviously, most notably, Kate, Tobias, and Jalen Duren were excellent. But the point you bring up kind of about everybody just kind of switching and filling in, I think that ties into the rebounding effort. I think that ties into everybody getting in front of their man, putting a body on someone and finding that rebound. I do think we wanted this game more, and that's why we had that rebound advantage, and that's why I think Jalen Duren probably just played the most disciplined game of his young career so far. A guy who's had a lot of undisciplined games. I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Game
There
one.
was one play in particular, top of my head, we didn't even end up scoring on the play, but there may be 3 or 4 seconds on the shot clock in the second half with limited to no action. Um, and he ends up having the composure to turn around and do a little handoff with Malik Beasley that resulted in a decent look for Malik Beasley, although he didn't hit the shot. I think the growth we've seen from this kid is just through the roof, and I think he was the anchor to our defense yesterday, and the anchor has to rebound, and he controlled the glass. He dominated the glass. I can't even think of a single offensive rebound off the top of my head that the Knicks were able to get because I think Jalen Duren just absolutely obliterated anything that was within the paint, within the hoop yesterday, and he was a massive reason as to why we were able to outwork them and ultimately win that ball game.
Did you say we had 48 rebounds yesterday?
Yep.
48 to
So
34.
between Cade, Duran, and Tobias, that was 38 of those 48.
Tobias
Absolutely.
Harris, bro. Uncle T.
Uncle T
Gotta
has
give
been
his credit, man.
phenomenal.
He had a
That tip in he
banging.
had was huge too.
A
Yeah.
couple of huge tip-ins actually.
Mhm.
And I mean I remember before game one you were saying the last time Tobias played a playoff game he was what 0 for 8, 0 for 7, had the 0-pointer. Is this something to have concern about? He shut everybody up with a 22-point first half in game one in Madison
Buzzer
Square
beater
Garden,
to end the half.
as Uncle T would do. And he matched up with almost a better all-around game here in game two. Again going back to the point of, is Tobias Harris worth how many wins was it in the preseason? Is he worth
13 and a half.
Yeah.
hands down? He is. What a solid player Tobias Harris is. And another important thing to note on, I think that just helps us get to this point is like every suit we're wearing right now, Tobias Harris fitted us for this weeks ago, you know? Like those things count. Like there's a reason I didn't even know this was an award before until I saw our nomination. Nominated for Teammate of the Year, Tobias Harris. I love to see the representation for the Pistons in terms of the awards.
Who are the other
Lock-
nominees for that?
Locked up times.
Absolutely no idea. Um, Gabe brought up a really, really interesting point, and I don't want this to come off as arrogant and cocky, but how do the New York Knicks change what they did and go out and win game 3 or 4? Because I thought that we also didn't even play our best game, like we stated. I mean, you look at Malik Beasley, like despite not shooting the ball well, obviously had a huge impact, but 2 for 9, 1 for 8 from three. Timmy Hardaway 0 for 8, 0 for 6 from deep. Even Tobias and Cade going 1 for 4 from deep. Like we said, overall 6 for 27. How do the Knicks change what they did other than simply wanting it more? And I guess a few other things, and I'd have a quick point about that. An interesting stat I saw is Jalen Brunson passes to teammates.
I saw that too.
At 38 to Bridges, 34 passes to OG Anunoby, 12 passes to Karl Anthony Towns. Will be really interesting to see the utilization of Cat. But before we get further, I think we've given flowers to obviously Cade Duran, Dennis Schroeder deserved them, Tobias Harris deserved them, but three people I genuinely want to give like it's gonna sound really biased, but like a genuine like kudos to you are the referees. Because genuinely, how many times have we seen a player like Jalen Brunson? How many times have we seen Jalen Brunson just continuously reap the reward of that foul baiting antic? But it got to a point where the refs were like, if you're just gonna flop every time, we're not gonna call it. And I think it kind of led to like a boy who cried wolf scenario. Like, wait, maybe there were a few fouls in there, but if you're doing this every single possession and you're hunting out calls, especially in the playoffs, the refs are like, okay, we're not calling that. And it's just nice to see respect on the end of Cade Cunningham, who I don't think a single time goes out of his way to like do a non-basketball play in his hoop. I think he's genuinely just receiving contact when he's going to the basket. And it's nice that he's actually getting that whistle. And like that's something we've genuinely never seen before. Kind of crazy that it happened there. I think that kind of speaks to Cade having a coming out party with that respect from the official. But I love that they didn't just blow that whistle every single time down, even though we had 6 on Brunson. I just want to respect the refs because I've never done that before and say like, thank you for not adhering to the constant flopping. Obviously there's, take into account a ton of bias from my end, but I think from the point of view of like Adam Silver of basketball being a product, I think it's so good that we're not calling that every single time down. And I
got
think
it a good
the
amount.
most of the NBA, he did get it a ton amount too. But like, I'm just appreciative he didn't get it as much as he could have,
There
just
were
based on
some
how much
like
he's going for it.
he had like a hot streak where he was just drawing a bunch of fouls and then it did slow down a little bit and it was just
How,
hilarious to see him driving into the paint where like 3 separate times on the drive he like kicks his head back to try to get a call and he's just like, oh, no
yep.
call, a little further, oh, a little further.
That I think we're going to talk about that same possession. It was the one where he drove into the paint, threw up a floater. Jalen Duren meets it at the apex for the swat,
Yeah.
gets it back, A good closeout on, I forget who the first one was. Second one was McBride. They kick it. Brunson with another drive. Tobias with the strip gets it back again. Jalen Duren ties him up. Pistons, and there have been a lot of possessions where the Pistons have held the Knicks and forced them to use all 24 seconds. That McBride prayer that found glass and went through. So it's just good to see this team is doing that. And also, who are the two best defenders on this team right now?
On the Pistons?
Yeah.
Isaiah
Are we including Isaiah Stewart?
Yeah.
Or,
So I was hoping you guys
Stu and
would say
Asar,
Stu
yeah.
and Thompson, right?
Oh, actually, I'm gonna go Stu and Tobias Harris.
Stu and
Let's do
Tobias.
it.
Okay, so for the sake of my gateway, we're gonna say it was Stu and Thompson. Between Stu and Thompson, 20 minutes played in game 2, and they held the Knicks to under 100 points. Isaiah Stewart, of course, didn't even touch the floor. Asar Thompson fouling out because he was just getting obliterated by the Brunson flopping. So game 3 is going to be big because hopefully Isaiah Stewart has had almost a week to recover, 5 days. So hopefully he returns. And the other thing you were saying, Valley, how are the Knicks gonna come back? How are they gonna adjust? The thing we have to concern ourselves with, for me personally, is them finally hitting their shots. I don't think they're hitting as many threes as they're accustomed to hitting. I think they've hit 10 threes in both games. And I think that they could hit more. I know that towards the end of last game, Bridges had an open look he could have knocked down. Brunson had an open look he could have knocked down. They knocked down those 2 threes. Who knows what the result of that game is? So I think we just have to keep up the defensive intensity. I love the hustle that this group has shown. The Pistons have shown. Everybody crashing the glass. You touched on the Tobias tip in. If you go further back on that possession, he's hustling down the floor, gets the pass, kicks it to the corner for Beasley, and without breaking stride, then cut straight to the basket to get that tip in. So just constant movement from one of the oldest guys. I think he might even be the oldest guy on this team. So Tobias Harris has been absolutely phenomenal. Gabe, you haven't had a chance to jump in for a bit. Anything you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think I have to disagree with you a little bit on that 3-point thing. I think they're just not getting looks that they're accustomed to. But I do think the main ingredient to that is Karl-Anthony Towns not taking any threes. Because Tobias Harris is quick enough to be up in his face and not have to worry about the drive-by.
And strong enough to at least hold him up a little bit to get
until help can arrive. So I do think game 3 we're gonna see more offense through Cat. But I think to go back to how they can win is we just got to look back at game 1, right? We played super sloppy. We kind of got caught up in the rest. We got caught up in taking possessions too long, not passing, doing kind of the Knicks offense is what we turned into at the end of that game, and they went on that 21-0 run.
Okay,
I don't expect that to happen again, but it's still, we shoot ourselves in the foot a lot. It happened a lot throughout the season. So I expect that to improve every game, but if the Knicks turn up their defense, if they start hounding us a little bit more, I wouldn't be surprised if the turnovers climb again and we miss some easy shots again, and that's just how you lose.
If they start game 3 the same way they ended game 1, it's going to be a very difficult game for the Pistons.
And I think that's almost our biggest key to winning, though, is having a good start. I said it before game 2, we got to come out strong. We can't have a bit of an offensive and defensive lull or either of those to start the game. And exactly, that's what I'm saying. I think game 2, we needed to avoid that. And I thought we had a pretty decent start on both ends. I think we set the tone defensively really strong. And that's why I think our biggest key to keeping that momentum and taking a lead in this series when it comes to game 3 is having that same defensive intensity. If you're shutting them out, you're giving yourself a chance no matter what. On top of the fact, you're going to have an absolutely ridiculously fired up home crowd to play in front of, which I think gives you just a natural advantage. But I think it comes down to just, again, just wanting it more, being there on the closeouts. I thought one thing we were excellent on in terms of defending Jalen Brunson was how collapsed we were. As soon as he got inside of that 3-point line, it was bodies on bodies on bodies. I think a couple times we tied him up for a jump ball, a lot of slaps, a lot of a little deflection on the shot, and a lot of stuff like Gabe said, and what people have been saying is we made him not play basketball. I think continuing to frustrate Jalen Brunson to that level is going to be the key to this, and continuing to slow him down. I don't want to say we're not going to lose to OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges like heat and threes because that's possible. Like it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think continuing to just throw bodies at Brunson, making life uncomfortable for Brunson and for everybody else, like it might not be our best defender. It might be Tim Hardaway closing you down, but like you're gonna get closed down. There's not any kind of lapse we had, like other than I think Brunson's first triple in the corner in game two. I wouldn't say there was a single defensive lapse in that game, and that's how it needs to be. We need to be on it. We need to want it more. Pretty much everything we saw in game two, I think we just need to repeat, and hopefully this time Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. and maybe some other guys are able to hit more threes and maybe Beasley will bounce back with like one of his 7 3-pointer games and we'll see something similar from Timmy and all of a sudden you're going, well if we only won by 6, then if they're hitting, wouldn't we win by like 20? And I think like that's got to be the goal. Like the goal has to be keep him under 100. If you keep any team under 100, you're putting yourself in a prime position to win a basketball game. Figure the rest
Especially in
out.
the playoffs.
Come in, dog them, outwork them, want it more, play defense, play in front of that home crowd, play off of that crowd, and there we are. I cannot wait for the boos Jalen Brunson is going to receive, both initially and for when he inevitably does get an annoying flopping call to go his way. I'm so excited to partake in those boos.
I'm excited to hear it. Two things to touch on that I haven't touched on yet. I mean, Valley kind of helped me out with this. When we talked about Schroeder, we did not talk about how well he's done defending Jalen Brunson. I believe, Connie, you
Oh,
said it before the series even
even
began.
all year defensively, Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah. And you said before the series began, watch out for Dennis Schroeder and how he guards Jalen Brunson. And he had that ridiculous swat on him in game one. And then just bumping with him. Unfortunately, a call didn't go his way one time. And Connie, you also
Crazy
talked
call as
about,
well.
yeah, another crazy call. We talked about how we want to tire out Jalen Brunson, how we want to just be relentless with him. We're picking him up 94 feet. He's flopping himself. He's tiring himself out. The commentators were even talking about it yesterday, how he's all beat up. His face is red. Like, hey man, if you want to keep throwing your head back and tire yourself out, more power to you.
I think I saw a stat as well that we've targeted Jalen Brunson more in pick and rolls than he has been
Mm-hmm.
in the past. Was it like 2 or 3 playoff series before that? So we're really going at him. If Cade sees him, it's just over. He's at the rim and it's a bucket. I think everyone should attack him. He's strong. Like Tobias tried to post him up a few times and just couldn't move him. But if he gets him lower, it's just a hoop.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're either predicting or looking out for, either from us or from the Knicks in Game 3?
I'm looking for the Pistons to continue to grab and go. I loved how every time there was a missed shot, we got the board, we pushed it right away. We tried to get down the floor. We talked about how before the series began, how we want to see the Pistons moving in transition. The Knicks are one of the slower teams in the league. The Pistons one of the fastest. We want to try to get them when they're not set. And we did a really good job of that, which also allowed for some of those possessions like we talked about earlier, like the Tobias tip in. So I'm looking for the Pistons to continue to push the pace. And we found Beasley for a couple corner threes in that last game. One, again, was talking about it for the third time, the one that resulted in the Tobias tip in. And then again, when we were trying to close out the game, Beasley had an open three in the corner that he could not knock down. We're going to push the pace. You're going to hit Beasley in the corner for a three. If those start going down, like Valley said, maybe he does go off for one of those 6 or 7 triple games. So I'm looking for the Pistons to continue to push the pace and just bring the energy.
I what I'm looking out for. I think I pretty much said it, but I want to see some hot shooting. I want to see some threes going through the basket. I think for the first time. But honestly, like over everything, like it's all about like we just can't take a possession off. Like I think that's what it was last time out. For me as a fan, it was stressful thinking every possession is the most important possession of the game. And I'm just like, come on, guys, dig deep. One stop right here. And then the same thing on the offensive end. And then the same thing when it turns back to us. So I just want to see the same intensity and care to play a 48-minute basketball game.
Yeah.
As we saw in game one, you can't stop for any amount of time in the playoffs. It doesn't matter against who. I'm looking for us to come out strong, make a statement, and like not just beat the Knicks. Like I want to handle the Knicks. Like I want a 20 plus point victory against the Knicks. I want to shut Jalen Brunson down. I want to just keep doing what we're doing, but hopefully find some more luck in terms of scoring the ball. And okay, I'm blabbering, but no turnovers. Obviously not none, but like the turnovers, I think, like when you talk about shooting yourselves in the foot, I think that's the biggest thing with this Piston team. How many times have we been able to look at a box score and point at the turnovers and say that's why we lost? So outdog them, outwork them, keep the turnovers down, and I think you're going to put yourself in a great position.
I also think the Knicks are going to begin to pick up Cade more so at half court. They've been kind of letting him. I mean, even if we run a play for him, they've been kind of not really getting into him until he gets to the 3-point line, maybe even a little further down. So I'm looking for the Knicks to try to pick up Cade at half court, make it a little more difficult for him to get into that pick and roll with Duran or whoever they decide to go with. So that if they do a screen, like he's been after a screen on the 3-point line, he's been able to go low with that mini cross that he has and get down low and attack whoever's at the basket. I'm gonna try to see if they're gonna try to come out a little bit higher, make that move a little bit more difficult. But sorry, Connie, I took away your thunder. What are you looking forward to in Game 3?
I mean, they just have to continue playing ballistic. If we go into a half-court offense battle with this Knicks team, they're gonna lose. And so they just have to keep playing like insane, like animals. They have to get every defensive rebound. They have to scramble. They have to force turnovers. They got to get out and run. Like this is not a series that if we come out of it, they're gonna come out of it feeling great, you know? Like they gotta work it down to the bone, you know? If they want to win, it's just about playing at 110% for the whole game and another like and if it's not that, I'm looking at maybe Asar Thompson learning how to guard Jalen Brunson a little bit.
I think he's
Uh,
done a pretty decent job. I think a lot of the fouls he's getting are. I mean, of course, he had
but
the one
like
that he did jump into
I
him.
think he's also frustrating the hell out of him. Like I think Asar's
Mm-hmm.
doing great, but I understand like we want to
as,
see him on the court more,
as,
and we want to see him eventually, ideally, not follow him as much,
yeah, and I
which is
mean
impossible.
I'm
Yeah.
falling back to a non-playoff game, but he had a lot of trouble with DeMar DeRozan too. He just is
Mm-hmm.
he's a little jumpy. And if you just take away that from the Knicks, then you're like we've taken away everything else. We could take away that. We could really just shut the water off on these guys.
Yeah,
Um,
Greg Kelster said it on the FanDuel broadcast. He said, "I'm gonna be saying this all series long. If you're guarding Jalen Brunson, do not jump." So
But
let's see if
JB had said something after the game too, where he's like, I'm paraphrasing, but basically like, we're not gonna stop playing hard with Jalen Brunson. That's how we play. He's gonna get like they're gonna keep getting into him, and like sometimes foul calls will happen, but Brunson's not getting off easy in any way.
no. And if they're gonna keep giving the whistle like they did in Game 2, that could fare well for the Pistons. Gabe, what is something as you pose the question, adjustments you're keeping an eye out for in Game 3?
One thing we saw from the Knicks last game was a double big lineup at times with Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns. And I thought they did really well with that. They didn't go to it enough, I thought, but I would love to see Stu and Duran out there if Stu is healthy, if he can play. Um, just for a stretch, see how it does. I think the physicality would really help. It's okay. You can put Stu on Cat, then put JD on Hart, and then you just have even more size out there. So I would love to see that as an opportunity. I just predict Towns is going to have a large game. They're going to go to him
Mm-hmm.
over and over again, I think. And then I think Brunson's going to get some more free throws. When the coach complains, when you complain in post game, the refs usually, blow their whistle a little bit more.
Yeah.
So just be ready for that. And I want the Pistons to keep their head and not fall into this complaint to the refs thing, which happens at times, I think, to this team where they get an unfair whistle and then it just gets to their head.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours, right? And I wanted to
Yeah.
mention that even when we did the series preview, is we can't be complaining about calls. It's same story now. We got 3 more games. It's a race to 3 now. It's the best of 5 series. 3 more games to win. We can't be complaining. We just gotta uh go to work, for lack of a better term. Uh, Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here? I know you guys were thinking about going to Game 3. Gabe, Valley, you guys heading out?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right. Well,
There's
I'll be at
a
Game 4, not Game 3. But you guys got to
nice.
make sure you bring home a winner on Thursday.
Yeah, you as well then, because there's a fan fest before the game. We're about to stop in there, see what all the hubbub is about outside the arena and that little park thing.
Okay.
2 hours before the game. We're gonna stop in there, see what's up, and then go crazy. Maybe get some boomsticks. So if you
Oh, I miss those.
see some people in the middle there, that'll be us.
All right, I love it.
I guess last thing I'm asking you guys, after those first 2 games, how you think these next 2 are gonna end up in LCA?
You already know my prediction, so you
Pistons
already
in
know what I see
5.
those 2 games happening. So I'll let someone else get the chance.
What did I say? I said Pistons in 6, I think.
Yeah.
We said we would like to see Pistons in 6, but we think it's going to be
I'm
Knicks in
holding
7.
on. I'm holding on to Pistons in 6. I've changed my tune on that. I think outside of just like the brain dead mistakes that the Pistons are making, I think they've just been the better team. I think the Pistons are just the better team.
I'm tending to agree. Pistons in 6. Yesterday's
So,
game didn't
So what do I think
feel.
is gonna?
so do you
Sorry.
think we're going like okay, like record? Okay, I'm saying 2-0 in the Little Caesars Arena.
1-1,
1-1, I
and then
think.
close the last 2.
I
But
think
1-1
I think
on
we
some
go
bullshit
2-0 as
probably.
well.
I would love to go 2-0 at home. That's fine if we lose one more MSG and then come home and take out the Knicks at LCA. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Can we take a moment to acknowledge the fact that we're going to be in a series in Detroit for the first time in 17 years where we'll have won a basketball game. We've hosted series where we've been swept, but we're hosting a series with a win under our belt for the first time in 17 years. Obviously, we had 15 years. Was it 15 or 17?
8, close
17.
to
Oh
8.
wait, yeah.
May
Yeah.
26, 2008, I think.
Which also signifies the importance of last night's win in Madison Square Garden being that first ending that long. 15 in a row is what it was over the course of 17 years in the playoffs. Incredible to be able to break that streak and to be where we are, and like it's just another milestone down, and it means just another milestones ahead, and now it's take care of business at home. I'm so excited to be at this game. The energy in the crowd, I think, is going to be genuinely second to none. Genuinely will be completely outrageous. I have 2 kind of not entirely playoff related things really quick. Do you guys mind if I shoot them real quick?
Are they Pistons or NBA?
One of them is Piston.
Okay. Let me do my Pistons one, and then you can do your Pistons one and your
Course,
last one.
course.
Is fatigue a concern for you guys?
For the
No.
Knicks.
No.
For the Knicks, we're turning it up more.
We're younger and more athletic.
The
We
Knicks
can play
I'm a
surge of
little
100
concerned about
games.
if we can play that hard again for
I
3
think
I
consecutive
think we
games.
can play
I
harder.
think I think the
I mean, I
adrenaline
think
of
we can
playing
hit
in
more
front of
shots, yeah.
20,000 Piston fans is going to make us play harder.
It might.
I think,
I'm all for that, but I just want to get your guys' thoughts. All right, go ahead, Sally. What do you got?
I don't know if you guys saw this. There was a poll of 158 NBA players in a recent Athletic article, and it did a few things. And Cade Cunningham, I don't have the exact figure in front of me. I think he was voted most underrated player in the league.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, and Tyrese Halliburton as most overrated.
I
But
saw overrated. I didn't see underrated.
I have a fun last one here. I don't have a subscription to the Athletic anymore. I just have a screenshot right here. Which player in the league would you least like to fight after James Johnson takes home 63% of the votes? Isaiah Stewart, second with 13.5%. Jalen Duren getting on that list as well. We got some dogs. I hope Stu is back for game 3, man. I would just lose. My head would probably explode if I get a huge Stu block in like the right circumstance in a game at home. Like I could just imagine the stadium erupting, and I could just imagine it. So I hope Isaiah Stewart comes back, and I think that speaks to how those 2 big men both anchor this team right there, that poll amongst the players.
I bet you Jordan Poole was a participant in that poll.
Yeah, there was only 1 vote for Duren, so I'm gonna assume it was
Jordan
him.
Poole, 100%. Any other notes before we get out of here and we await the first playoff game in Detroit in 17 years where we have a win under our belt? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Buff Sound Podcast. We will probably come back to you. I mean, if the Pistons go 2-0 at home, we're definitely coming back here and talking about how the Pistons could end this series in Madison Square Garden, where Cade Cunningham just seems to go off for some reason. But I'm all for it. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you let us know what you like, what you didn't like. We're all for you guys. We want to try to make this show better for you guys to listen to. But until next time, throw the Buffs on Detroit, because the future is bright.